Now, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that we're currently away on this year's European road trip. And I dare say the big mountains in the background probably give that away, and you can tell we're not in Cornwall. Now, while we're here, I'm going to be lining up on the start line of the ETC at UTMB in partnership with the running brand Asics. They actually sent over a load of kit for us to get used to and sort of bed in, because we're going to be using their kit for the race. And part of that kit was their Go Faster carbon plated trail shoe, the FUJISPEED 2. I reached out to our wonderful audience and asked if you'd like to see a first impressions of this shoe. The feedback was super positive, and it looks like you guys would love to see that video. So today is the day we're going to be taking out the FUJISPEED 2 from Asics for their first run. Welcome back, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Thanks for joining us for another video, and we're actually coming to you live from our campsite in Chamonix, France. Such an awesome place to be, such an amazing place to film and run, and I really hope you've been enjoying all the sort of road trip content so far. There is definitely a lot more exciting content heading your way very soon. So if you have been enjoying it, don't forget to like, comment and share. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, maybe today is the day. Super simple to do, just by clicking on that red box down there in the corner. Only takes a couple of seconds and it is completely free, but it's a massive help to the channel. Okay, before we lace these up and take them out for their first run, I'm just going to run through a few facts and figures, and I'm going to break down the construction in a bit more detail. And then we'll obviously talk more about the shoes when we're out on the run and when we get back, wrapping up with the final conclusion. As we build to UTMB week, it is getting busier and busier out here with lots of filming, lots of editing. So I'm going to go through the facts pretty quick. And I also apologise if it is a bit noisy here. I'm obviously filming this video in the middle of a campsite, so there's not really a lot I can do about that. So first up, the FUJISPEED 2 retails for £160 here in the Oh, we're not in the UK, we're in France. So it retails for £160 back in the UK, which I actually think is pretty reasonable for a carbon plated trail shoe. And it's actually £70 more affordable than the slightly disappointing Ultraflies from Nike that we tested recently on the channel. Weight wise, they come in at around 250 grams in a UK 8.5, and they run off a 5mm heel offset. I've got to be honest, the information on the Asics website is super vague about this shoe, and actually very vague on probably 7 other websites that literally had no details about it whatsoever. I find this pretty annoying and very strange, because surely if you're buying a running shoe online, you want to know as much about that shoe as possible before you purchase it. As far as the construction goes, we've got a lightweight woven material used by Asics in this upper to offer good levels of durability against roots and rocks while remaining comfortable and highly breathable. We've got an asymmetrical lacing system with a gusseted tongue inside that upper to give you good levels of lockdown and support around your midfoot. That tongue design, pretty thin in padding, but we do have a moderate level of padding around that ankle collar and a good level of structure in the heel. You also get a handy lace garage, so you can tuck your laces under that elastic strap, and that's going to stop them getting snagged when you're out running on the trails. Actually, speaking of laces, these are very similar to the brilliant laces you get on the Nike Vaporfly road shoe. So we've got lots of little notches worked all the way down the laces, so that should also really help when it comes to lockdown, but also keeping the shoe locked down. We've got some printed overlays around those lace eyelets and the toe box just for a bit of extra durability. Unfortunately, the toe is really soft, so there's no sort of added toe bumper there for protection, which I think is a bit of a shame. And then finishing up, we've got a handy pull tab on the heel just to make it a bit easier to get in and out of the shoe. Moving down to that midsole, and we've got a full FF Blast Plus foam midsole setup, so it should feel nice and comfortable underfoot, feel like it's returning high levels of energy and nice and responsive, because the FF Blast foam is what Asics use in a lot of their performance driven shoes. We've obviously got a carbon plate worked into that midsole, so it is a quite stiff shoe. Obviously it's brand new, so it needs a bit of sort of bedding in, but it does feel like that plate is going to offer a lot of sort of added propulsion when I'm out there on today's run. And clad in the bottom of the shoe, the all important outsole, and we've got a full Asics grip outsole on the FUJISPEED 2. Now I'm a big fan of this outsole setup. I've tried it on a few Asics trail shoes before. It's always served me well. The rubber seems to be very sticky, very grippy on rocky trails or wet rocky trails, and you get a good level of traction from the lug pattern. Now, we're having a bit of a heat wave here in Europe at the moment, and it's been plus 30 degrees for the last several days. So I don't think we're going to have any mud to test out the level of traction from those lugs, but we should have a fair bit of sort of loose, gravelly trails. So we'll definitely be able to test them out. As far as lug depth, not a lot of information about that, so we've measured them. Looks like a 4mm lug, so a good lug depth to have on a shoe when you're going to be running on a big mix of different terrain. So there you have it, folks, the carbon plated FUJISPEED 2 from Asics. But now for the exciting part of the video. So I'm going to head off, get changed, smother myself in sunblock, and then we're going to be lacing up these bad boys and hitting the trails of Chamonix. Okie dokie, so the plan for today's run is just a nice steady sort of 10k, 7 miles. We're not going to get a lot of elevation in because tomorrow we've got a super big effort planned in the mountains. It's probably going to be 5 hours on our feet, and we're probably going to do about 1,500 meters of elevation. So wanted to keep it relatively flat today, not to overdo it and save some energy for tomorrow. So we are currently 3 miles into the run. The first thing I noticed straight out of the box when I first put them on is the sizing. I would say maybe they size up a bit long. I've got quite a lot of room on my shorter foot. I went for a UK 9.5, my standard sizing. So I would say they are quite long in sizing and quite sort of deep at the midfoot. So I've had to pull those laces down quite tight to get a good lockdown around my midfoot. Once I've done that, I feel really secure around the midfoot and really good hold in the heel as well. And that's not always been the case for me when it comes to Asics trail shoes. Okay, so another 4 miles or so to do on the run. So I'm going to head out on the trails still out of town, then I'm going to loop back into the woods and then head back for the campsite. But so far, so good. While I'm out here, I'm also testing out Asics Fuji Trail shorts and their Fuji Trail 3/4 length zip short sleeve tee. I'm very thankful for the zip because another reason why we're taking it easy today, and we actually started late in the day at 5 o'clock. As I came through town, the temperature gauge said 33 degrees, so it has been super hot the last few days in Chamonix. Going up to 37 at times, so again, pretty energy sapping. I've also got their Fuji Trail hydration vest, 7 litre pack, soft flasks up front, feels really comfy, fits well, no movement, but I am really loving the Fuji Trail shorts. So light, really breathable, fit well, very comfortable, so really happy with the kit. And it should perform well come race day. Right, we are 5 miles into the run, and that FF Blast Plus midsole has felt super snappy on all the tarmac and all the trails, but you can probably see behind me that we've got one of the most epic scenic running tracks in the world here in Chamonix, so there's no way I can resist it. It's a performance trail shoe, but let's run a few laps around the track. Okay, that's better. Now that midsole has been fully tested, so let's run back to the campsite and we'll give you guys a full conclusion on how the FUJISPEED 2s have performed on their first run. So you join me back in the mountain backdrop studio here in Chamonix. I'm definitely going to miss this place when we're back home in the UK and we're filming these videos indoors, that's for sure. Again, we're in the middle of a campsite, there's lots of noise going on, so I do apologise if you pick up on that. But we're back from our rather hot first run in the new carbon plated trail running shoe from Asics. It was definitely a bit cooler down there by the river, but I've got to say it, I was still a bit toasty by the end of it. But for a first impressions run in a new carbon plated trail shoe, it actually went pretty good. As you can imagine, as we build closer to UTMB week, we are getting busier and busier with filming and editing and everything else going on. So I'm going to run through how the shoe performed pretty quickly. With there being a fair bit of tarmac on today's run, it really did highlight how comfortable and how much energy return you do get from the Asics FF Blast Plus foam. Really is super comfortable underfoot. Feels like you're getting lots of energy return as well. And I actually mentioned it out there on the run that even though it is a trail running shoe, it really did feel like a performance road shoe when I was on those tarmac sections, especially when you've got that carbon plate technology worked into the midsole construction. Like most carbon plated running shoes, they did feel quite stiff straight out of the box, although I've got to say it, not as stiff as the Nike Ultraflies that we tested recently on the channel. And that shoe actually gave me a few foot issues within the first 2 or 3 miles of that first run, where I had no issues at all in the FUJISPEED 2s. There will be a few comparisons throughout this conclusion with the Nike shoe because that was the last carbon plated trail shoe that I tested on the channel. And you know, the FUJISPEED 2 and the Nike Ultraflies have kind of been designed to do the same sort of job. As far as the upper goes, it felt nice and comfortable wrapped around my foot. We've got that nice lightweight fabric and lightweight construction, but also that engineered mesh that's been used by Asics is highly breathable. So I mentioned earlier that we've been having a bit of a heat wave here in Chamonix, and it was about 33, 34 degrees out on the run, and I could really feel that sort of cooler river breeze passing through that breathable mesh, which really helped to keep my feet nice and cool in those hot conditions. As far as the fit goes, I would say it would definitely suit a runner that has a fair bit of depth to their foot shape, especially at the midfoot, whereas I'm pretty shallow, I've got quite a low arch, so I really had to pull those laces down nice and tight to feel that I was, you know, well locked down around that midfoot, to the point where you can actually see the upper has started to sort of gather or pucker up there at the bottom of the laces, which I'm never a massive fan of, because it normally means that the shoe fit and shape isn't really working for your foot shape. Didn't cause me any issues, but like I say, it's something that I try to avoid. So again, I think the FUJISPEED 2 definitely works better if you've got a bit of volume to your midfoot. All that aside, like I said, the upper felt very comfortable, really good hold in the heel, no movement or slippage, no rubbing, no irritation at all, which is always a good thing when you take a new shoe out and take it out for its first run. I'm actually going to be wearing the FUJISPEED 2s in the up and coming ETC at UTMB, which is in a few days time. It's a 15-kilometer mountain race with 1,300 meters of elevation, got some very steep climbs and some very quick runnable descents, which I'm super excited about. So we're definitely going to be pushing hard in these on race day, and it's really going to give them a thorough testing. So my final conclusion after my first run is it's a very comfortable, responsive, high energy returning carbon plated trail running shoe, and I personally think for the retail price of £160 it's actually pretty good value when you compare it to all the other carbon plated trail shoes that it's competing against, especially Nike's super hyped Ultrafly at £230. I personally think that the FUJISPEED 2 kind of beats that shoe on every single front. Firstly, just because it actually feels and runs like a performance carbon plated trail shoe. Lightweight, responsive, nimble, all the things you want, and not, you know, too heavy, overly stiff, and quite firm in the midsole like the Ultraflies are. That shoe really does feel more like your sort of standard everyday trail shoe. So like I said, I personally think for £160 is pretty good value. So there you have it, folks, our first impressions on the FUJISPEED 2 from Asics. Obviously, these are just my thoughts after my first run. We're going to be continuing to run in the shoes, and then we'll be back on the channel with a full in-depth review once we got some good miles into them. Really hope you enjoyed it, really hope you found it helpful. If you did, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, because it is a massive help to the channel. Keep your eyes peeled for the ETC race day video dropping on the channel soon. Super excited to be taking on a race in the mountains that is a lot shorter than what I'm used to, so I can really attack those climbs and then really let my legs loose on those long flowing descents and really attack the route. I'm super excited, super looking forward to it. The cameras are coming along, we're going to capture it all for you guys at home, so like I say, keep your eyes peeled for that. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting the channel, it's really appreciated. We'll be back here very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Unfortunately, there's also a helicopter station just over there, and funnily enough, just as I start filming, a helicopter lands, and now it's just sitting there with its blade spinning, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I don't know, don't they realise I'm trying to film a YouTube video?